Hello everyone, RFG here with a review for Black Myth Wukong, a fairly linear action RPG developed and published by Game Science. While it shares many things in common with other modern day ARPGs, there are some things that do set it apart. Before I get into that, let me tell you a bit about the story. Inspired, largely, by the Chinese novel Journey to the West, you begin the game as Wukong being confronted by members of the Celestial Council as they confront to imprison him for rebellion. When attacked by the member Erland, you're served with a tutorial of sorts. You get a glimpse of the abilities you'll eventually gain as you progress through the game, but not much other context is given. Sometime after Wukong is sent crashing into a mountain, you, as the Destined One, are tasked with recovering the 6 relics Wukong dispersed with after being defeated. Gaining control of the Destined One is a constant learning experience. There are many subsystems in place, and many of them will go through a quick tutorial to explain them. You'll also be regularly gaining new abilities such as staff techniques, spells, spirit skills, and transformations. I'll go over most of these in a bit as they already set apart Black Myth from many other contemporary ARPGs, but Wukong also sets itself apart by how it handles its general combat. Like many other modern ARPGs, the Destined One has a health, mana, and stamina meters. Visiting Keeper Shrines throughout your journey will mark your progress and refill all meters, including gourd uses, a healing tool that has a limited number of drinks, when resting at them. Like its contemporaries, you also have a dodge, light, and strong attack button. Unlike most other current ARPGs, the way your strong attack button works is pretty unique. On its own, the strong attack doesn't really do much, like not much extra damage or even flow neatly with your weak attack. Instead, this is meant to be used with focus. Focus is gained by landing light attacks or performing instant dodges, which then fills a meter that when full is represented by a focus point shown in the bottom right of the screen. In the early game, building up a focus point and then unleashing a strong attack can be used to stagger enemies. Combining this with your light attacks and combo finisher and instant dodges allows you to keep pressure on your enemies, including the many bosses called Yao Guai Chiefs and Kings. However, you can upgrade the Destined One with abilities that make further use of focus, including gaining more focus points. One of the most useful abilities you can upgrade to is Composure, which allows you to continue your light combo after a dodge, similar to a dodge offset mechanic. Another useful set of upgrades are ones that includes attacks that actually creates a link between light and heavy attacks, referred to as varied combos, from the 3 available stances using focus. These have additional traits besides just being able to be linked from light attacks. The 3 available stances have different uses of your strong attack. Your default is a smash stance, where you can charge your focus while moving and deal heavy damage. Pillar stance can be learned at level 5 and allows you to perch atop your staff to avoid ground attacks, which follows with an attack of its own. Thrust stance allows you to attack from a reasonable distance and can be learned at level 20. You can charge your strong attack for focus for each stance, but you'll use it immediately for an attack upon letting go of the button. You don't save up focus points like you would from gaining them from light attacks or instant dodging. Along the way, you'll gain the Immobilize spell. Spells use mana which can be refilled at shrines, but unlike health that has the use of gourds for refills, or stamina which automatically recharges, mana has more limited ways to refill. There are a number of spells you'll gain throughout the game, usually slotted to a particular type. You can only equip one per type at a time, keeping your key configuration less complicated. While Immobilize is the first you'll be given, you'll later get abilities like Rock Solid, a sort of parry spell, and Pluck of Many that allows you to summon duplicates of the Destined One to attack. Each spell has its own unique cooldown timer before it can be used again. Note that some spells can be interrupted by an enemy attack. Transformations are another ability you'll have access to. Defeating certain boss type Yao Guai grants you access to a transformation form. These forms have their own health bar and have limited use in the form of Might, shown in a separate meter below their health bar. Might is gradually depleted when a transformation is active and whenever an ability is used. The transformation will lose health whenever it receives damage. If either of these go down to 0, you'll automatically be returned to your base form. You can also detransform at your own will, but note that whatever state your base form was at before transformation is the state you'll return to. Health, mana, stamina, and spell cooldowns will be at the same level they were before transforming, but Might recovers on its own. Early on, you'll also learn to observe spirits to access spirit skills, an ability in Black Myth that are attained from specific Yao Guai. On paper, they might sound similar to transformations and that the Destined One takes on a Yao Guai form, but these are usually a quick burst similar to an assist in other games. I don't think these can be interrupted like spells, but you can be damaged while these are active, and unlike transformations, your base form takes damage here. Spirit skills use G to be activated, which can be charged by attacking Yao Guai. There's already quite a bit of customization involved while progressing through Wukong, but every ability I've mentioned allows for some level of upgrading or choice of how to upgrade. You can choose the way the Destined One's foundational form progresses or how the skill progresses for his stances. Each spell has its own basic skill tree to advance them. Transformations don't have skill trees themselves, but there is a set of universal upgrades for all transformations, and each one has their own unique upgrades. Each of these abilities can be upgraded in the self-advance section of the menu, or in the Reignite the Sparks menu at any shrine. Upgrading these abilities requires sparks, which are acquired by leveling up throughout the game by defeating enemies. Sparks can also be returned for use at any shrine through the Reignite the Sparks menu. If you're having trouble with a certain section of the game nearby, or maybe a particular boss, you can respec the Destined One by returning the sparks of certain upgrades, or returning them all at once. There's no prior requirement or item needed. Spirit skills can also be upgraded, though this is only accessible through the Cultivate Spirits menu at shrines. Spirit skill upgrades require Will, the game's unit of currency, which is acquired in various ways, and specific items for later upgrades. Besides the upgrades mentioned and resting to recharge gourd uses and meters, the Keeper shrines have other uses. You can use them to fast travel to other shrines, set your spells and transformations, craft new weapons and armor, change the drink of your gourd and add soaks to them for additional effects, visit the store to buy items like medicine with Will or sell treasures for more Will. You can also make medicine at a shrine with ingredients you found. Later on, you'll also be able to upgrade armor, once again requiring Will and certain items, depending on how you make your way through Black Myth. Armor itself will come in various sets based on materials you acquire. Some pieces of equipment may have their own unique effect, even if they're a part of a set. Weapons are similar, though they're not generally part of a set, but later different branches of weapons can become craftable with their own effects. Besides just weapon and armor, there are curios you can equip that provide effects like more burn resistance or stat bonuses like extra defense. Your equipped spirit skill has these type of effects, and even the gourds you can equip for health refills may have a unique trait. Despite the linear structure of Black Myth, there is variety in how you can build the Destined One's ability set, and in the environment as well. The first chapter may only have a few branching paths that might not have much that's special to find, but later chapters do have more open spaces, or more areas that has something worthwhile to look out for. Whether that's an NPC who can provide you with certain perks, treasure chests with valuable items, or a boss that when defeated earns you material for new equipment. And even though the game is separated by chapters, you're free to revisit any previously visited area through the use of the travel menu at a Keeper shrine. But even if you're not looking to fully explore, there's a good bit of variety placed throughout Black Myth. Even bosses seem to be mostly unique, with the least unique ones being variations of Lesser Yao Guai. The amount of meaningful progression or rewards you receive journeying is pretty impactful. I think just about every required encounter provides you with something that either adds to your ability set or gives you an incentive to look over your build. Finishing a chapter also gives you a boon to choose from the recently acquired relic. Even finding meditation spots, which don't do much besides show off some of the beautiful in-game scenery and graphics, still give you a spark for upgrades for each new one you find. And yes, the graphics are amazing. Black Myth may be a largely linear adventure, but there's a lot of detail implemented on a small and large scale. Characters, enemies, and environments have a pretty much equal effort to be placed on them. That being said, for those of you who might be distracted by dubbing and voice syncing not matching, may want to play the game with original voiceover audio. Music can match the epic scale at times, and will often fit the overall theme, but while exploring, it's mostly just silence in the background until there's an encounter. As for story, that's a bit tough for me to describe. The overall arc of collecting Wukong's relics is present throughout the game, but I found more interest in what was directly going on in the chapter events. It does feel like you're just thrown into the middle of different stories, but what's happening within them is interesting. If you are curious about the lore, there are extensive journal entries for just about every enemy and character present in Black Myth. As for difficulty, it's not a particularly easy game, but it's also not very punishing. Almost every bit of progress you've made before a death is carried over. Will, items, sparks you've collected, and certain enemies that you've defeated all count in your favor even if you died before reaching a shrine or some other form of checkpoint. If you're specifically having trouble getting past a boss or area, respec your build. The only thing you have to lose with respeccing your build is time. It's hard not to recommend Black Myth Wukong for any fan of modern action RPGs. It's a rock-solid new entry in a genre that has inspirations from plenty of other games in the same or in similar subgenres, but still manages to provide its own unique design choices that work very well. There's also a New Game Plus mode that retains all of your inventory except for quest items in a more difficult experience. For those of you who might be intimidated by difficult games, I think there might be enough for you to find ways to make it through with maybe some things that might seem too frustrating at times, but there's usually something in-game you can find that can help persevere through that. For those who may think the difficulty doesn't sound punishing enough, or if the non-open world aspect isn't worth the price, I think you're missing out. I highly recommend Black Myth Wukong for fans of the ARPG genre. But that's it for me. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.